Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another C-Files. Thanks for joining us. Okay, let's see now. Bear with me a moment. Gotta back out of here. Toss stuff in the back seat. There we go. All right. Another car talk on the 500 horsepower muscle car. You say, why in the world do you drive a 500 horsepower muscle car? What's with you? Well, I like muscle cars, okay? Specifically, Mopars. And no disrespect to the Mustang and Camaro owners out there. At least you drive a muscle car too. But I'm partial to the Mopars, as the saying goes, and we'll probably hit the history books, Mopar or no car, right? But anyway, everybody drives the car that they want to drive. Who goes to a dealership and pays $50,000, $60,000 these days? That's how much they are for a car that you hate and you absolutely don't want to drive, don't want anything to do with. Who does that, right? You pick out the car you want, right? Whether it be an SUV, a pickup truck, getting something practical for you and your family, or something that you just want to drive that's just really enjoyable to drive. That's what you pick out. Well, this is what I picked out. So there you go. Now, the second reason I drive a 500 horsepower muscle car is because the globalist oligarchs hate this car. They despise this car, right? And it irritates them. It ruins their day that I'm driving this car. And anytime I can ruin the day of a globalist oligarch, that's a good day, okay? That's how it is. That's another reason why I drive it. Because it's freedom. It's freedom. That's why. Why do people drive big four-wheel drive pickup trucks? They're jacked up and all that fancy stuff on them. Freedom. That's why. Because you don't want the globalist oligarchs, the freedom-killing, freedom-hating, Christ-hating oligarchs to rule over you like a slave, right? To tell you what you can and can't drive, when you can drive, how far you can drive. They're trying to get all that into play. This is what they want to do, folks. They want to control every single aspect of your life. And this car that I'm driving represents my rebellion, my full-blown rebellion against their agenda. That's why I love driving it, okay? Plus, it's just a great car and a fun car to drive. All right, so I just, got some tires on it yesterday. It's feeling really good now. But anyway, let's see if I can't squeeze through there. I'll have to wait. All right, so that's why I drive this car. Now, we're distracted. Men, gentlemen, you're way too distracted. The women are carrying the heavy lifting for you. Why? Why aren't the men stepping up and doing their job to protect their families and their communities against the onslaught of tyranny that is designed, that has been planned to come down and crash on top of your heads? Why? Part of the reason is what we're eating, and part of the reason is we've just been distracted. There's two things in food that I will absolutely not eat, okay? I absolutely refuse to buy any product with these two things in the ingredients. Number one, soy. Whether it be soy, a soy byproduct, soy, based, or I don't care what it is, if it has any implication of soy in it, I don't buy it and I don't eat it. Soy is part of what's feminizing men, okay? It's a biological, physical effect upon men. Soy it causes the body to produce estrogen, and that feminizes men. So soy is out. So manufacturers, you put soy in your food, just understand, I'm not going to buy it and I'm not going to eat it. The second thing that I will not buy as an ingredient in any kind of food product is high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup. Sugar, the body needs a certain amount of sugar, but the problem is we overeat sugar, and that's what causes a lot of our health problems, including clogged arteries. And high fructose corn syrup is the worst offender of the bunch. I mean, in my estimation, it's 100 times worse than white processed sugar cane. And we used to call that stuff white poison. Imagine what a chemically derived laboratory chemically derived sugar would be like if natural sugar processed into a white granular form is horrendously bad for the body. How bad would be a chemically derived, in the laboratory, derived fructose corn syrup be? It's horrible, absolutely horrible for the body. I won't touch any product that has that in it. And you know what? Since I've given up those two things in my diet, I feel so much better. I've become healthier, stronger, and I feel better. And so I won't touch either one of those things. Now, that angers the globalists because they want us to be unhealthy, right? Oh yeah, you say, what do you come up with all this stuff, these conspiracy theories? I read the words spoken by the globalists. I was just reading a book. I finished Alex Jones's book, The Great Reset, and now I'm reading a book called The Rise of the Fourth Reich, and it's you can find it in Barnes and Nobles. I hope it goes to a #1 bestseller because it is a phenomenal book, and they will quote the globalists and what they say. And one of the things they want to do, the globalists have said this themselves. Like Yuval Noah Harari is like one of the top guys, one of the top globalists working for Klaus Schwab, one of his top advisors, that says a lot of this stuff. They want to poison our bodies. They want to depopulate the planet because what the globalists do is they view us as being the parasites that are killing the earth. That's how they view us. It's like like a parasite would invade our body and cause us to get sick. They believe that we humans are parasites that are killing the planet. And so when they talk about saving the planet, all this climate change stuff that they put out, which, by the way, there's no science to support it. The science is not settled. There was, I think, 31,000 scientists that recently signed a petition against this climate change agenda, where they're trying to say that there's a man-made influence on climate change is killing the planet. They're saying that's a lie. It's not true, according to these 31,000 scientists that signed this petition. Can you hear that? That's just a little message to my globalist oligarch overlords. Every time you hear this engine, I'm telling those oligarchs, take a long walk off a short pier in shark-infested waters, okay? That's what I'm telling them. Now, gear down. There we go. So, you know, the goal is to depopulate a lot of the planet, and whoever's left, you know, they become the slaves of the globalists. And I mean, I've read their books. I've read what Yuval Noah Harari has to say and what Klaus Schwab has to say, and they're two of the top globalists in this, the vocal ones, the visible ones. And they say this stuff right out. I mean, they tell you what they're going to do. And so, slavery, they want to enslave the planet. You know, one of the means that they're enslaving us right now is the financial credit system, FICA. FICA is a form of slavery. It's a form of economic slavery. And people have bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. You know? But we're blind to it. You know why we're blind to it? Gentlemen, men, I'm talking to you, is because we're too busy with football and baseball and basketball and whatever sport it is you want to go watch, or hunting, or whatever it might be. We're too busy being distracted with those things to pay attention to the fact that they want to dismantle our family. They basically would love to outlaw the traditional family, and keep us sick all the time. Now, there's a certain number of people that they don't want to kill, they just want to keep you sick, because that brings money into the healthcare system, okay? And how do they keep you sick? Bad food, okay? High fructose corn syrup and soy will keep you sick, along with other ingredients, but those are the two biggest culprits, all right? Now, by the way, in the South, fried food, yeah, that's a big culprit. Let's gear down. Got a little bit of traffic. Now, we talk about slavery, past slavery, current slavery, human trafficking, sex trafficking, economic slavery, but there's a form of slavery that every last one of us are under, and there's a solution to it, but most people will not take that solution. And that is the slavery of the bondage of sin. It's our own iniquity that enslaves us. Keeping us under the bondage of sin. Think about that. That is a form of slavery that will affect us for eternity. So what's the solution? The sacrifice of Jesus Christ on the cross is the solution. His death, burial, and resurrection. When he rose triumphant over sin and death. Why? Because he gave his life on the cross for us, to wipe out the sin of those who believe on him. That's the only way out of the eternal bondage of sin. Now, that's primary. That's first and foremost when it comes to getting from under the bondage of slavery. That's the first thing you need to do, is to overcome the bondage of sin. Bottom line. If you overcome every other bondage in the world, every other form of slavery in the world, and you don't overcome that one, you've accomplished absolutely nothing. Okay? Nothing. Because you've gone into it, you will die and go into eternity under eternal bondage, and the hell that you live in for eternity will be the hell that you created for yourself. And yes, it will be a fiery and dark hell where there will be gnashing and grinding of teeth, according to Scripture. All right? So that's first and foremost. Come to know Christ as your Savior. How do I do that? Stop believing in yourself and start believing in Christ. Die to self, live unto Christ. That's how you do it. Okay? Go and start reading Scripture. Start with the book Gospel of John. Start reading the Gospel of John and go from there. Go to a Bible-believing church and sit down and talk with a pastor or a mature Christian in that church and ask them about the gospel. Okay? They will teach you. All right, now, they renewed the Patriot Act. That means that the politicians, the elected officials in Washington, D.C., are not your friend. They are your enemy. Why? Because they renewed an act of Congress that was designed to kill the Fourth and the Fifth Amendments to the Constitution. Fourth Amendment is your right to being free from unreasonable search and seizure, right? Where you have some protections against a tyrannical police state. The Fifth Amendment, the important one in that amendment, is due process, okay? Due process of the law. Being able to have, to face your accusers in court, to have a defense through a defense attorney, to have a speedy and fair and just trial, okay? Those are protections that are found in the Fifth Amendment. The Patriot Act destroys both of those amendments. Under the Patriot Act, the federal government does not have to meet the requirements of the Fourth and the Fifth Amendments to the Constitution in order to snatch you up and put you into confinement. Now, if you want to know what happened to the January 6th people who, were basically, the red carpet was rolled out and they were invited into the White House, not the White House, I'm sorry, the Capitol building on that day. And then they were arrested and put into jail, and they were not given due process. They were not allowed to see a defense lawyer, hardly ever. And years of delay before they would go to trial. And they're basically deemed guilty before proven innocent. Why did all that happen if the Fourth and Fifth Amendment are still there in the Constitution? To protect them from all of that kind of judicial tyranny. It's because of the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act is not being used to go after terrorists who would threaten our country. The Patriot Act is being used to go after you and me. When the Justice Department comes out and says, and I'm talking about the federal Justice Department, and they say that white males, specifically Christian white males, are the biggest threat to the country, the biggest threat to the federal government, deemed to be a terrorist group, that opens up the opportunity for the federal government to arrest and detain any Christian white male at any time without reason. All they have to do is go to the FISA secret court, get a FISA warrant, and how do they do it? All they do is make an accusation. They don't need any evidence or proof. All they have to do is make an accusation. It's like Majority Report. Remember the movie Majority Report with did Top Gun. Tom Hanks is in my head. It's not Tom Hanks, but anyway, Tom Cruise. He starred in the Majority Report, where they knew you were going to commit a crime, so they would preempt you committing a crime. And how did they know? It was because this cybernetic entity would read your mind and predict the future that you were going to do this, right? Remember that in the movie? The 3 women in the tank? Anyway, or if they were actually women, might have been unisex. But anyway, that's kind of what they're doing, folks. They're assuming that you're guilty before you've even committed a crime, before you've even done anything. That's what the Patriot Act does for them. And so that's how they were able to arrest the January 6ers and confine them for who knows how long without being hit with the Constitution. Forget the Constitution. We got the Patriot Act, which basically suspended the Constitution. And this is why you get searched when you go into an airport to get on a plane. What in the Fourth Amendment gives them the right to search you before you go on a plane? Do they have a warrant to search you? No. Do they have exigent circumstances, which is allowed under Supreme Court case law? No. Do they have consent? No, they don't. You don't verbally give them consent. You don't in writing give them consent. Unless it's in the fine print when you buy the ticket. There could be implied consent. But come on, implied consent? You could apply implied consent to anything. Well, when you get in your car and you drive it out of your garage and you back out onto that public road, now we get to search you and your car for the safety and security of the United States, because there's implied consent that when you get on that road, you have consented to a search of your vehicle. Okay, that's no different than implied consent to get on an airplane and fly. You know, implied consent to a search when you get on an airplane and fly. It's no different. All right, it's the same thing. So no, there's nothing, in my humble opinion, in the Fourth Amendment that gives them lawful right to search you before you get on an airplane. Okay? You know what gives them that right? The Patriot Act, which suspended the Fourth and Fifth Amendments. Okay? So, the Patriot Act will be used, if the globalists have their way, to shut down our churches and to arrest anyone for thought crimes, for speech crimes, for being the wrong color, like white, for being the wrong religion, like Christian, because you're a terrorist threat to the United States if you are any of those things. And we can go out and get a FISA warrant, and we can arrest you and haul you off into prison. Now, if you think I'm talking fantasy world, just stand by, folks. And why do they get away with it? Because the men in this country are too busy with football. This is football season. You're too busy talking about who's going to win the Super Bowl, the playoffs. You know what? I don't give a flip about the playoffs or who's going to even play or win the Super Bowl. I could care less. They're trying to kill my family or destroy my family. They're trying to kill us through poisons in our food. They're putting stuff in our water. They're trying to, the pharmaceuticals, well, don't even get me started on that one. Read the books, folks. We're under a major attack. We're in World War III. Our southern border is wide open. They're directing the Border Patrol to assist illegals that come in here. And now there are municipalities in our country that are hiring people who are in the country illegally to become police officers in our country. And they want to bring them into our military. Now, these people will have no allegiance to our country and no allegiance to our Constitution. You know what they will have an allegiance to? Whatever the globalists tell them to do. And right now, that is happening. There are municipalities in this country that are hiring these people onto their police departments. And what are the men doing in those municipalities? I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. While their wives are screaming bloody murder at the top of their lungs, trying to stop this garbage, and the men are just sitting around with their fat bellies and their beer in their hand watching football. I am ashamed of the men in our country that have not risen up and put a stop to this garbage. I'm ashamed of you. I don't care how big and strong and burly you are. Forget you. You're condemning your family to either death or slavery because you're too lazy to get off your butt and stop being distracted and start protecting your family. Not me. Not me. I'm fighting the globalists with every ounce of energy I can surmise. I can conjure up. Okay? I'm fighting them. Because they're satanic. They want to attack our churches. They want to destroy Christianity from off the planet. That's war, baby. That's war. And I'm going full-blown commando on their rears. This is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call. All right? Wake up. Read the books. All right? There's a lot of good books out there that have been written over the last 3 years that will help you. Read the Tavistock Institute. Read I think it's called The USA of Fear. Read Alex Jones' book, The Great Reset. Get a book called The Committee of 300. Read it. Get a book called The Rise of the Fourth Reich. Read it. Okay, that's just a few of the books out there that are exposing the corruption on an international level that is occurring. Now, how do we fight this? Well, it's simple. We fight it on a local level. you fight it in your own community. You guys out there that your police departments are hiring people who are not even U.S. citizens, and they don't even have a green card. You better be all over that. Why aren't you making the life of your city council miserable? Why aren't you challenging that police chief? Why aren't you demanding en masse, hundreds of thousands of you in those big municipalities showing up, shutting down a city council meeting because they're doing this, and demand that the people that work for your police department are not only U.S. citizens, but are loyal to the Constitution? Well, you don't do it because you're too busy watching the playoff games. That's why. Shameful. You're not real men. Real men protect their family, fight for their nation. That's what real men do. Fight for the church. Fight to stop the shutting down of speech, free speech. Because if you don't have free speech, you can't preach the gospel without being thrown into jail. Ask John Bunyan about that one. Read his book. His books. There's more than one. All right. I think that's good enough for the lecture for the day. I'm almost home. So that was a lot. That was pretty heavy, and that was a lot to take in. Just suffice it, folks, I'm just trying to wake the men up, because the men are sleeping. The men are not paying attention. The men are not getting up and doing what they need to be doing. And I'm including the preachers at the churches, okay? Too many preachers are compromised by the globalists, and they don't even realize it. They don't even know it. One of the things about being a cop for 30 years is that it made me to be very, very cynical. And I'm going to talk about that in a future video. I became real cynical. Because the reality of society and the reality of life smacks you right upside the head after just a few years on with a police department. Okay? You get to see a side of society nobody else sees. And you become to certain realizations that nobody else comes to. So I'm very, very cynical about anything put out by our government, put out by the health departments. I'm cynical. And I have a brain that tells me investigate this, find out what the truth is. I have a brain that tells me don't believe it just because they say it. Because I've been lied to way too many times. Think about that. All right. God bless you, folks. We're coming up on Christmas. I'll be doing, as we get closer, I'll be talking about that. And I got some good poetry that's really good for Christmas. And some stuff like that. So anyway, God bless you guys. I'll see you next time on the C-Files. Let's go into 2024 prepared for battle. And I don't mean physical battle. I mean InfoWar battle, spiritual battle, and protecting our family and our community battle. God bless. I'll see you next time.